This is probably going to lose me some followers and internet friends, but you know what? Screw it. At this point, I'm done sitting on the sidelines. I'm done keeping my mouth shut. So, it's been a few days since one of the worst events that could happen in the course of history has occurred. An assassination. Charlie Kirk, a 31-year-old husband, father, entrepreneur, and man of God, has been taken from this earth by a leftist terrorist whose motivations were inscribed upon the ammunition he had brought to shoot Charlie, including the round left in the chamber of the gun that was found, and possibly even potentially could have been used on the crowd at Utah Valley University. Now, most people know me here on the internet as, just some guy who likes to enjoy playing video games and have a good time, make people laugh. Or I'm a former classmate, fellow poker player, or some random guy they met at some random place or in a random country halfway around the world, not as some political persona, and that's kind of on purpose. For my short time on this earth, politics has done nothing but be a force for division and dehumanization of those we deem the other and not on our side. And that has been especially so since the advent of social media, which has been prevalent since I was in middle school. Unfortunately, much of what I've seen from people I know, as well as just random people on the internet, really makes me question why on God's green earth I remain on social media to begin with. From posts that read, Charlie Kirk rest in piss, or posts being shared from organizations like the Other 98% and Occupy Democrats, organizations with blatant left-wing bias that don't outright justify this, but backhandedly justify Charlie's death by taking his quotes out of context. I don't care who it is, that's wrong. That's wrong. What is wrong with the country and the elders and the people of my generation that for some reason we can just feel this way about someone we've never met? You can just hate somebody for no reason other than internet personality X said I should hate him. Mainstream media outlet X said I should hate him. And then they take all of his quotes out of context. Quite frankly, if this has been you, and I highly encourage you to take an inside look at yourself. And remember the words I know my grandparents used to tell me, and I'm sure if you were parents, you told your children. And your parents told you, as well as your grandparents would have told you. If you don't have anything nice to say or share, don't say it at all. If, honestly, you still feel the same way about just disregarding someone's life, lose me as a contact. Lose me as an internet friend. Lose me as a follow. Lose me as a sub. I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore. There was a time where I thought we could stand and debate our beliefs, just like Charlie did on his college campus tours. You honestly think he was in friendly territory there? That's the lion's den for people with conservative beliefs. But Charlie believed in the idea that we can sit here and talk person to person, idea to idea, and find a way to peaceably disagree. Because once we stop talking, bad things happen. When partners in marriage stop talking, divorce happens. When countries and people stop talking to each other, war occurs. Communication is what keeps us from descending and falling to the worst of our human instincts. And all Charlie did was preach gospel. He didn't preach left. He didn't preach right. He preached up. This lack of sympathy and compassion that I see on the internet, especially knowing that his wife and children were present, including that when the gunshot went off, his 3-year-old daughter started running towards Charlie, not knowing that Charlie was the target, and that Charlie was the one being rushed away into the hospital van because the shot was loud and scary. This lack of regard for human life purely because of a difference of opinion shows how immoral and secular our nation has become. John Adams once said after the Constitutional Convention that our government and our nation was founded for a moral and religious people, and how far we have fallen from that. Say what you want about Charlie, but the man stood on his values and stood on business and wasn't afraid to wander in where honestly he probably wasn't wanted, to have difficult conversations because he believed in the idea that debate was a way to relieve this pressure from politics and morals and disagreements so that terrible things wouldn't happen. I believe time will come to notice this as my generation's Martin Luther King Jr. moment. And I hope we learn just as much about each other now as we did back in the 60s and 70s. If this entire video upsets you in any way, shape, or form, quite frankly, you can shove a 40 grit sandpaper covered cactus up your ass, because I don't care. I'm tired of standing on the sidelines, being a pacifist, not standing on my morals and my values. I'm sorry if this offends you, but I don't care anymore. I don't care. You lost my empathy the moment you couldn't show empathy for a fellow human being. I'm hoping this video has at least made you take a think and look inward and realize maybe how terrible and disgusting and satanic and heinous the behavior we have had over these last few days has been, because it's been outright ghoulish. And to those that do feel that way, I encourage you to challenge your way of thinking. Challenge your ideas. Challenge the things you've heard about Charlie and about others you disagree with by looking up their content and finding everything they say in context. And that's the important part. In context. Not only do we as Americans, but we as a human society need to do better than what we've seen over these last few days. This is my honest opinion, and these are just my ideas for what first steps could be. Violence is never the answer to free speech. It never is. And with that said, I am Charlie Kirk. Done playing the pacifist. I'm going to be standing on my morals and values from now on, and quite frankly, if that's too much for you, I hope you find God. I hope you find God, because only He can heal your heart. But until then, enjoy that aforementioned sandpaper-coated cactus. I know the door hit you on the ass on the way out. I do hope that your heart becomes unhardened and you can understand why people are upset. Appreciate your time on this video. Rest in peace, Charlie. And may your values inspire others to do the right thing.